G'day guys, Chris here, RYCO 24/7 Ingleburn. And today, very excited, we're doing a video on the RY16 Crimper. Now this little unit has been quite popular for us for a number of reasons. Probably number one, the versatility of the Crimper. It's fully portable, or you can run it in a workshop as well. And very good for the, if you're regional, quite regional and far away from hose making centres, you can use this Crimper, set up a bit of your common stock and make your own hoses on site. Your mobile diesel plant mechanics, very popular with them as well. Forklift guys, forklift maintenance repairs, they're doing their own hoses because they're quite common. Side shift hoses, things like that, they're quite common hoses and hose ends, so they don't have to keep much stock. So very, very popular with that field. If you're in a production environment, it's probably not the right Crimper for you, and probably go to something like you see here, these standalone base Crimpers. But the big advantage this RY16 has is you can just lift it up. So I'll show you now, and we'll get it unpackaged out of the box. So we've already unscrewed the screws here. It would be screwed in and all packaged in. Nice and tight for air and sea freight. Okay, so we'll start with this checklist. We've got obviously an RY16 crimping unit, we've got a tube of grease, we've got the user manual which is down there, we've got the grease application brush, and we've got the dye box, and we've got all these dyes here. So you can go along and make sure you get everything in the box, obviously as soon as you unpackage it. These dyes here are optional, 7, 10s and 12s, but it comes with 14 to 37. So basically for crimping hoses, 1/4 inch, 1 and 2 wire, and 4 wire, all the way up to 1 inch. 1 wire, 2 wire, 4 wire, 6 wire, no problem. Okay, so let's get it out. So as you can see, one person lift, no worries. Which will go through there. We have our tub of grease. And we've got our manual, which I'm not unpacking that one, I've just printed one off online. We've got a little dye box. And we make sure we have all our dyes. So, it says here we need 14, 16, 19, 23, 27, 31, 37. So, 14, 16, 14, 16, 19, that one, no, 31. Make a liar out of me. Oh, sorry, 19's already in there. So this is our display model. 19's already in there. 23, 27, 23, 27, and 31, 37. 31, sorry, that's 37, and 31 is here. So they're all there. Got a little dye brush, and that is for, we'll go through a bit of the maintenance procedures later. It basically comes with a tube of grease. It's lithium moly grease, pretty sticky stuff. Dip it in there, and we've got to lubricate that, especially in the run-in period, which we'll go through. Okay, the first thing we're going to do, we've got the Crimper out of the box now, is we're going to do a quick check over, make sure nothing's broken, make sure there's no bolts missing, all the labels are there. This is all in the operations manual that comes with the Crimper. Turn it around here, couplings here, need that. So we go couple up to our power source. We've got the serial number there and date, manufacturer. We'll spin that back around. So we've done a quick check over. You will also need a 9-volt battery. This doesn't come with it, so you will need to purchase a 9-volt battery. You open up the side pouch here, very easy. Slide it back in there, careful with the wires. Yep. Sits in there nicely. And this is our test. We're just making sure our light is working. So what that light does is when we've got our crimp diameter set and we're pumping away, or depending on which pump option you chose, but when we're crimping away, when it gets to our desired size, the light will go off, telling us we don't need to pump anymore, we need to stop. And that is the purpose of the light. A few safety things before we start as well. The main one, or probably the main two actually, is one, when we're crimping you need to keep your hands well away from the crimping head. The second one will be, these are 700 bar power sources, so if there are any hose ruptures or bursts, you don't want to have your hands anywhere near the hose trying to cover a break or anything, or if you see any damage on the hose, replace it immediately, because you don't want oil going everywhere, you don't want oil injection injuries and things like that. So yeah, be very mindful of leaks. That would be the main safety component of it. Okay, so now we've got our pump coupled to our RY16 crimper head, and crimper. We've got our battery in. Now what we need to do is crimp a hose. So today for our video, we have a piece of hose here. So we need to crimp an end onto this hose. So we have a piece of T28D. It's a RYCO manufactured hose. Okay, and we're going to put a 2000 series coupling onto this hose. Quite standard type coupling. RYCO J seal. So it's a JIC female, 3/4 female, very common type end. It's a one-piece design. So 90% of RYCO's fittings, they're 2000 series, which is very common, and 7000 series are all one-piece design. So we don't have a separate ferrule and tail, it's all one piece, okay? So we will have to do a couple of things. We need to do a mark length. So we need to make sure that the coupling is the right style for this hose, which we'll check now. And then we also have to make sure that it's pushed on all the way. So we'll have a mark length. Then we need to make sure it's then crimped to the right diameter using an 8-die crimper. All right, so we'll go to that now. Okay, so now that we know we're crimping a RYCO T28D hose, we need to make sure we've got the right fitting for that. So we go to our crimp chart. There's a few ways we can do. We'll just get, for today's video, we're going to do a, we'll show you this way, the manual way, which is we've printed out the book from our website, which is available at rycohosesouthwest.com.au/resources/downloads, I think, from memory. You can download the latest crimp chart there. You open up here, 2-wire braid hose. So it's a T2D. Yeah, it's on page 14. So we're going to go to page 14. Okay. T28. Okay, so we have a few series. As you can see, Avenger, Die Hard, Slider, Survivor. Now these are just outer covers of the hose, depending on what the application is. Our most common type of hose we stock here and we sell is the Die Hard hose. But whether it's an Avenger or it's a Slider or it's a Survivor, which is high temp, it's still going to be the same crimp spec. So we come over to here, we've got a T28D hose. Now it's saying we can use 2000 series couplings, or we can actually use 7000 series couplings. And it's got this 1200 two-piece over here, but there's, as you can see, there's only one application for that, which was a T240, which we don't, it's not really that common. So the first one here, the T2000 series, is what we're using today. So we know we have a crimp spec for it, which means we are good to use this coupling on this hose. So we've got our crimp diameter across the flats is 26 plus or minus 0.2 of a millimeter. And our mark length, so mark length is how far the hose end needs to be pushed onto the end of the hose, is 25 millimeter. So what I'm going to do now is put the mark length on the hose and push the hose end onto the end of the hose, ready for crimping. So a standard vernier kit you can use, or you can purchase one of these ones. They're quite inexpensive from us. These are quite a handy little unit here. They've got thread gauges and all types of things in here for identifying threads and fittings. But in this case, we just need the verniers today. So we'll turn them on, okay, at 0. So we're going to set these to 25, which is our mark length. Okay, just nip up the top here so it doesn't move. And then we use the end bit here to do our mark length. Okay, so we'll put that on there, put that there, and we will mark it something like that. Now there are quicker ways to do this. As you can see at the back here, we have actual mark length gauges you can purchase from us. I'll bring them up here, where you actually slide the hose onto here and use the edge here for your 25. And all the different sizes have their corresponding depths predetermined by these spigots. So that's obviously in a production environment, you know, you're doing a lot of hoses at once. Investing in something like this would be quite beneficial. If you're doing the odd hose here and there, it's for your own gear, and you just need to get yourself out of trouble, then this way is also okay. Okay, so now that we've got our mark length, we can slide the hose end onto the end of the hose. Just a little tip here, I've already pre-oiled the end of this little hose end here, the tail, just to give it a little bit of lubrication while you're pushing onto the end of the hose. Otherwise, it can be quite difficult. So I like to hold the hose quite firmly, grab the hose end and push and twist. That can be quite difficult. Something like that. Now, if you're not sure, you can keep pushing a little bit more. But yeah, usually it'll be right up to the end of the ferrule there. Don't recommend using rubber mallets and things like that, because what I've found is bits of the rubber mallet can go inside the hose and contaminate the hose or the hydraulic system. So lubricate the hose well. You can also put a little bit of lubrication, preferably hydraulic oil, inside the hose as well, the liner of the hose, and on the end of the tail, which can make it easier as well. You get the sort of knack of it once you've done it a few times. Okay, so now we're ready to crimp. So we've got a crimp spec of 26, okay, plus or minus 0.2. So if we come up to our die set indicator here, you see we need, up here we need 26. So see, I've found 26 up here. So it's saying I need the die set is the 23s. So if you can see that, if you come around, so you can see we need the 23s. And to get 26, we're going to need 3 turns. So 23 plus 3 turns. Each turn is a millimetre. Will give us 26. And we'll go through how to set that now. So we look at our die sets in here now. So the ones we have in there are 19s. So you want to get as close to your crimp spec without going over it. So in this case, we've got a closer crimp set, die set, sorry, is the 23s, because we need to crimp to 26. So we'll go 23s plus 3 mil. So we're going to locate our dies in the box here, which are there. Pull these out. So these are just located with little grub screws there and magnets. You can see the magnets in there. So we'll pull all these out by hand. No special tools required. So we grab our 23s. So you see there's numbers, or die set number is stamped on the front. I like to always have them facing the front, so I know I haven't got a wrong die set in there. Alright, so we've got all our dies here now, the 23s that we require. And as you can see, there's numbers on the end of each of the dies. 23, 22, and there's not any on one end. So the numbered end I always like to have facing the front. So we've got our grub screws in there. Get them pretty close. They'll locate in the grub screw and then the magnets will pull them on. Okay. Got our dies in there, so you can see there, all the numbers are facing the front. A quick visual inspection tells us they're all 23mm dies and they haven't been mixed up with a sneaky one in there of a different size, which would basically make the hose no good if we crimped it with the wrong size die. So now that we've got all our 23 dies in there, it says it's saying we need 3 turns to get to 26. So we come over to our dial here, which we're on 0 now. So you can see the sliding scale or the vernier scale, whatever you want to call it. We'll turn that 1, 2, 3. Okay. We'll grab our hose. A bit of an angle here. Hopefully you can see what's happening. Now when we're sliding this in, you want to make sure that the dies fully cover the ferrule. You don't want the die to stop short here and create like a little bubble effect. That's not how the RYCO fittings are designed to be crimped. They're a full crimp, so you need to crimp the full length of the ferrule. So if you can see, I'll probably have it around there. You can have it in as far in as you like, as long as it's not sticking out the back. And depending on what hose end you have, you just need to make sure you don't crush the swivel nut. You can see we've got a big cutout here. This is for 90 and 45 degree fittings, where if you're putting them in, because of its compact size, the body of the crimper can get in the way. So that's why we have this cutout here, so we can get 90 and 45 degree fittings right into the jaws of the crimper here. All right. So I'm just gonna hold that here. I'm watching. I've got my hose hooked up. I've got this tightened all the way, which means we're ready for action, which means it's going to be supplying pressure to the crimping head, and I'm going to start pumping. Now, I'm not going to get too carried away. I'm just going to bring it down so it's close, but I can still move the hose. Okay, we're getting close there. So now I'm going to take a bit more notice of where my fitting is, and I'll look at the back and make sure, yep, plenty of room there, not sticking out the back. So we're going to put it somewhere there. You can see that. So I'm just going to hold it at the back. So my hands are well away from the dies. I'm holding the hose right at the back here. We're going to come down, and I can feel it starting to get a bit harder now. So it's touched that ferrule now. And I just felt the pump switch over. So we've switched over to our high pressure now. And the speed will slow down. And we're going to pump away until we get our light that comes on here. So I don't know if you can zoom in on there. I'll pump here and I'll be watching the light. Not much effort required. There we go, our lights come on, as you can see. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to release the knob here. So once I release this knob, you'll see the dies start to expand with the internal springs. So as you can see, the handle drops, the dies release, and we slide our hose out. We have a quick visual inspection. Everything looking pretty good there. We haven't got any weird marks or anything on there. We grab our verniers, and our crimp spec, as we went through before, is 26 for this series of fitting onto this hose. So we'll get our coupling. So we're 26, let's do that again, sorry. We're 26.24. So actually the vernier scale is a little bit out there. We'll just crimp it up on the top. And we go there, yeah, we're just in tolerance really. Crimping down, checking down the bottom. Usually I'll just measure in one spot in the middle. Yeah, there we go, about 26.17, so in tolerance. Very good. First time. So as you're making a lot of these types of hoses, 1/2 inch hose is very common. You might need to just slightly adjust, go a little bit more, or when the light comes on, you need to go another 1/2 crimp or a 1 pump or something after the light comes on, just to get down to exactly to your 26. You'll get to, that'll get you very close anyway. So there you have it. RY16, no power, no air required, fully portable unit. You can be just have this on the back of a ute, small service vehicle, very, very versatile machine. As I said, the cycle time is quite slow. So if you need to make 100 of these hoses, this is probably not the machine for you. It was not designed to do production hoses. It's designed for mobile repairs, breakdown, out in the field, diesel fitters, plant mechanics, people that own a lot of machinery, remote farming guys, your mobile forklift guys, that type of thing. That's what this is designed for. So keep that in mind. Speak with us, speak with your RYCO rep, and just discuss with them your situation and what you need to do, and we can tailor something for you, whether it be something like this, or we move to our RY20C, which is what we would put in a mobile service vehicle or a ute, for instance. Would be the next one up, and then then we go to our full workshop with base and foot controls and all that type of thing. So. Okay, so the next bit I'm going to do before we wrap up is just the maintenance side of it as well. Now, it all in the manual here, there is very detailed information on the maintenance, but there is a little running period. What that is, they just want to make sure that the sliding surfaces get really well greased and the grease goes into the pores of the metal from day one. So if you keep the grease up to this, so I'll just uncouple this now and spin it around and show you where you need to grease. So just slide this around. Now, as you can see, it's a conical surface here, the two cones sliding together. As the oil goes into this, as you can see, a piston or a cylinder, it closes up, comes closer in that way and closes that cone up, which pushes on our dies, which gives us force in a circular motion. So these dies, as you can see, there's been grease put on in the factory, in there. You need to make sure these surfaces are kept clean. And then with the brush, I'm not going to actually dip it in grease, but as you can see, with the grease here, you would open the cap off, you would dip the grease in here, and you would lubricate in here. So at the start, they want you to really over-grease it, so every 2 crimps. Recommended running period for the new machine is 2 crimps. It is recommended the greasing process is carried out at least twice a day, more if the machine is in constant use. Okay, so if you're using it, you've been using it all day, do it twice a day. During the running period, grease the machine after every 100 crimps. I mean, you can follow that to the T, or you can just make sure you keep it clean. Once you've used your crimper, if you just have your grease handy, make sure it stays clean in there, because if your hose has been dropped on the ground and you're sliding in here, you can get dirt and debris and stuff into this when you're sliding the hose sort of in and out. So make sure they stay clean and make sure they stay greased, and the crimper will give you no trouble at all if you look after it. Okay, so that's about it. That's all the stuff there. When you buy the crimper and you buy your pump source, everything comes ready to go. It's shipped with oil. There's not much oil in there. When I say not much oil, there's enough oil in there to use obviously the RY16 crimper, because that's what these pumps are designed for. But it basically, all you need to do, like in the video I just showed you, is just crimp that, put that hose in the back, couple the hose to the crimping head, and you're right to go. We do recommend you undertake some hose assembly and technical manual training. This crimper is quite easy to use. Probably the hardest bit about making hydraulic hoses is identifying what hose you need to replace, so identifying the hose you're replacing, or if it's a brand new system, making sure you're choosing the right hose for the job. So it's all good to say, you know, we can just put 350 bar hose on everything and make sure we cover all our bases. But in some situations, you know, this hose may not be flexible. You need something with, you know, only a 1 wire hose, so it's a lot more flexible. And as you start to get into the bigger sizes, pressure, as the hoses get bigger, on some of our more common type hoses, the working pressure will drop, unless it's a nicer barricade. But that's a story for another day. But we strongly recommend that you do undertake some training about choosing and identifying the correct hose and fittings for your application. When you buy one of these from us at RYCO 24/7 Ingleburn, we provide some training for you. In some cases, if we can't deliver or you can't come and pick up the machine, we'll be using this video. RYCO also had their own video as well, but it was, I just thought we should do our own as well, so we can send people to our video and how we use it. But there we have it, hose assembly. How good is that? No power required, no 240, no 3-phase, no 12 volt, it's all hand, all fully portable. So if you have any questions, shoot us an email at sales@rycohosesouthwest.com.au. You can ask me, Chris, or any of our team will be able to help you. We have plenty of resource stuff on our website as well, which is rycohosesouthwest.com.au, where we link to our YouTube videos and things like that. So hope that's helped you guys, and a little bit of an explanation of the RY16 Crimper. Thank you. See you next time.